Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nottinghamshire Police and Crime Panel meeting today, Monday the 17th of November. So perhaps just before starting with the agenda, if I could particularly welcome our Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner. Welcome, Angela. I know you were at the last meeting, but that was wearing your different hat, so thank you for coming today. Thank you. We look forward to meeting all our colleagues. We're in this very nice venue, and so thanks to Gedling colleagues for allowing us to use this meeting venue today. So if we can start the agenda with the minutes of the meeting held on the 22nd of September. I think our learned colleagues have perhaps got a comment to make.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. We've just got a slight change to the minutes as published, and just to confirm the minutes on the 28th of July, we want to add a paragraph to the effect of a panel member requested clarity on the funding to be allocated under the current Safe Streets initiative, stating that the terminology used around the OPCC funding sources was confusing and potentially unclear. In response, it was explained that the PCC's initiative drew upon previous best practice and that full details would be shared with community safety partnerships. The panel also welcomed confirmation that funding would be made available to extend the Immediate Justice Initiative until 31st of March 2026. So with that amendment, is the panel content with the minutes of the 22nd of September?
Thank you. Any objections to that proposal? I don't hear any, so thank you. That's accepted. If we can move to item 2, apologies, please. Thank you.
Panel apologies from Councillor Coral Jenkins, from Councillor Inglis as well, who's unwell. And also apologies have been received from PCC Godden for today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us then to item 3, declarations of interest by members and officers. Are there any declarations people want to make us aware of? Thank you. None requested. That takes us to item 4, the Police and Crime Panel Annual Report draft. Hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to read the draft, and I'll ask our colleague to explain the process as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Yes, this is the draft for the period 2024 to 25. It's a bit of a departure from previous years in that we do have a first draft in front of you, and we invite comments by the 24th of November. So if we could have any comments on the accuracy or content by the 24th of November, that would be very welcome. Comments can be raised today as well, but we'll get those done. And we're also asking for delegated authority for a working group to have final sign-off of the report that will be published in the normal way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions to our learned colleague? No? Thank you very much. And thank you to the officers who've put together this very complimentary draft report anyway. Thank you very much. That takes us to item 5, and welcome the Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner. Thank you. We've also, I'm sure you've all received some additional information that's been sent by the Police and Crime Commissioner as an aid to helping discussions today. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for the croaky voice. What I want to start off with is on the 10th of November, there was a murder in St. Anne's, a tragic murder. Thoughts and prayers are with the families and friends of those affected. As an ongoing investigation, we are limited in what we can say. However, the force has taken immediate steps to provide reassurance and high visibility policing and in the areas affected, increased use of stop and search, criminal behaviour orders and serious violence orders where appropriate. been working with the Prevention Hub further upstream to tackle causes of the causes. Operation Sector Knife Crime Intensification is this week, 17th to 23rd of November. At the PCC Accountability Board on the 12th of November, we did a deep dive scrutiny of serious violence and knife crime. And while every knife crime in Nottinghamshire is one too many, we shouldn't lose sight of the progress we are making. For example, serious violence is reduced to 21% in the last year. Hospital admissions for sharp objects were down 10%. Possession offences is up 2%. And the number of active county lines in the area has reduced from 25 to 8 since January. So we are making progress. Also, in terms of the PCC awards of 900,000 Safe and Nottinghamshire Together grants to the funding the local voluntary community and social enterprise organisations, that's been allocated, but I just need to make a point to say we received 180 applications from organisations to the tune of 5 million. And then myself and the Commissioner Godden basically brought the regional partners together for the 5 PCCs for our first ever East Midlands Violence Against Women and Girls Conference, which took place on the 6th of October. The theme was around prevention. So each region presented and showcased best practice around prevention. There was a lot of learning from each region. And then we will be putting a report together with all the key messages and the outcomes from that conference. That's my update.
Thank you, Chair, panel members. If you'll allow in Commissioner Godden's absence, I'll just supplement what the Deputy PCC has said with another couple of headlines that perhaps I'm best placed to give updates on. The first will be the announcement last Thursday that the PCC as a model of policing governance will cease to be from 2028, May 2028. That was an announcement by the Policing Minister in a closed meeting with PCCs on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. We were told, first of all, that, at 9:30 a.m., we were told initially that that would become public at 10:10. In fact, it was announced in Parliament at 12, and we don't think there was any leakage to the public before that. But of course, you can imagine this came as a complete shock to PCCs, who were then keen to ensure that staff in OPCCs and OPFCCs across the country were communicated with extremely urgently so that they didn't hear it first in the media. So we know that there is obviously police landscape reform work going on, and there is a national team made up of the APCC, that's the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, and the NPCC, that's the National Police Chiefs Council. So both police forces and PCCs and equivalents have been part of the national work. And we knew that this current government, as the last, had signalled an intention to look towards devolution as a potential model for police governance. But the particular facts and the fact that PCCs were told that they would be no more was a complete shock on Thursday. So there was feedback in relation to how the government had communicated it, but I don't think it would be appropriate for me to comment any further other than factually that's how it received reaction. So what does
Before
that...
you go on, Michelle, thank you very much for the update. And I think it came as a surprise to most people.
Yes.
But wonder if you could make a note that we would find it helpful to have it as a standing alone item. Obviously, as things move on, you'll
Yes.
get more and more information as to how the process is to be followed. So if we could have it as a standing item for future meetings, that would be incredibly helpful. But yes, I think it was something out of the blue
Yes.
for most people. But thank you for that update.
Chair, you'll know that I tried to contact you very, very briefly. What does this mean? Well, for an area like East Mids where we do have a mayor in place, albeit there are 2 police forces in Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire that come under Clare Ward, there is architecture already in existence to accommodate that change in police governance. And we have communicated with key stakeholders and with the public through the PCC's media announcement that we will continue business as usual, and we will do our best to lead a smooth transition when it comes in May 2028 as things stand currently. The change of law required to allow 2 force areas to come under one mayor is part of the white paper that we are expecting, that will also herald the changes that were announced publicly on Thursday. Gary has announced he already does enjoy a good relationship with Mayor Clare, and we do as officers with the combined authority. We also enjoy a good relationship with Derbyshire OPCC, so we are in talks very early on, but we already collaborate, and we will continue those talks to ensure a smooth transition when it comes. You'll remember from my confirmation hearing as well, Chair, that I have come from an area that had a transition to a mayor, so I know what's involved legally, financially, asset-wise, liability-wise, etc., etc. So we communicated with staff, and we will await further guidance from government, but I'm happy to answer any immediate questions as far as I can today. But I was going to move on now just to talk about another item from the PCC update report.
If I could just make one comment, if I may. I wasn't quite sure if we were going back to the Deputy Commissioner, but one of the things in the report for us today would be our thanks and contribution to the retiring Chief Constable through ill health, which is a sad issue, really, but we wanted to place on record that she served our needs very amiably and always was open and transparent. And we wish her a speedy recovery, and obviously we hope she enjoys the retirement. So if the Commissioner would have been here, we would have been probably having that conversation first, but please do take that back for her. Do you want to carry on, Deputy, or is it Michelle that wants to make most of the points?
I've just got 2 more updates as
and
part of the
then we can
update
go back
report
for some questions.
Yes, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. That's helpful.
And thank you for your good wishes in relation to Kate's retirement. I'll pass those on. So after CC Maynell's announcement that she would be retiring next March, we have started the appointment process, the recruitment process for the next Chief Constable to ensure, again, a smooth transition between the retiring chief and the newly appointed chief when they arrive. I have shared with the panel the advert and the recruitment pack, which sets out the timetable of the process. As you know, Chair, the panel does have a role in the process for a confirmation hearing where there is an appointment of a Chief Constable, and Rachel has been liaising with Noel in relation to those arrangements. We can't confirm the date when such a confirmation hearing will be required as yet, because it would depend on the vetting and pre-employment checks of the successful candidate, whether or not that is an internal or an external candidate. Those checks still have to be gone through. But the timetable I've shared with panel members shows you that the closing date for the advert is the 1st of December at midnight. There is guidance nationally and regulations that require an advert to be open for at least 3 weeks. We are keeping it open for 4 weeks. There is then a 2-day assessment process on the 11th and 12th of December, after which the Commissioner who chairs the interview panel will be making his decision very swiftly to notify the successful preferred candidate of the situation. And then, as I say, we will undertake those checks and liaise with the panel around a confirmation hearing. So a significant step in the future for the force, and the Commissioner wants to attract the best field for that position. And then finally, from me, Chair, just the last update from the update report is in relation to the partnership governance arrangements, and the PCC has culminated his review of our local partnership arrangements with the introduction of a new PCC strategic board. The PCC chairs 2 partnership meetings now. One is the Local Criminal Justice Board, which you'll be aware of. and has been observed by members of the panel on previous occasions. And the other is this PCC Strategic Board, which will bring together and rationalise the business of the PCC's involvement at the community safety partnerships at a strategic level, and the Serious Violence Reduction Board, which he chairs. So it's amalgamating those two things so that conversations can be had with the same strategic partners about the same things, but in one place at one meeting. This has been received well by our county and city partners, and that rationalisation and the opportunity to bring together agendas around community safety and serious violence prevention and reduction has been welcomed. We've done it in tandem with the chairs of the strategic CSPs in both the county and the city, and we will just see how it goes. There is a February workshop where we will bring those same strategic partners together for the next meeting of the board in person around priority setting, so that we can ensure that all our agendas are joined up. And I think the PCC feels, Chair, that at a time of local government reorganisation, police reform and health reform, bringing in this rationalisation so the same people, key strategic partners around the table in one place will help make sense of the world. That is his ambition. Those are my updates in support of the Deputy PCC Chair.
Thank you. Are there any particular questions that members want? Councillor Ording.
Thank you so much, Chair. Very much join you in wishing all the best to our retiring Chief Constable. I'm really pleased to see the list of the Safer Nottinghamshire Together community grant schemes. Can we appreciate it was massively oversubscribed as well? So could you just talk us through the sort of selection criteria for the successful recipients, and how you ensured that there was a sufficient network reach out into communities in order that each of the projects would have a positive impact across the whole of Nottingham and Nottinghamshire? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Woodings. We had 5 priority areas, which is part of Gary's police and crime plan. And so that was the criteria going through the grants process. And there was a lot of applications that came through as well. And so they were shortlisted the first stage based on the criterias. Then there was independent assessors who came in from all different organisations to look at the next stage of shortlisting the process. It was difficult, it was hard, because there's so many services out there, great services, but with the level of funding we had, it came to 5 million with all the applicants in there, but we only had 900,000. So it's going by the criteria and how they fulfil those criteria in the different sections of the need for the police and crime plan. So it was difficult, it was hard, but going forward, you know, Commissioner Godden is looking at thinking differently, getting private organisations on board to look at longer term sustainability, because funding at the moment is like for 3 years, sometimes 1 year, but he wants to look at longer term funding, but getting everybody on board and looking at this as a corporate social responsibility. So, thank you.
If I could just add, Chair, that we've written down on one page the process and the various stages. If Councillor Woodings and other members of the panel would like us to send that, I'm happy to do so, in relation to the evidence gathering, the due diligence, and there was an equality impact assessment as well.
Thank you.
Yes, please, Chair. We'd be very much interested in having that.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor, I think I saw putting.
Thank you. Just on the same subject for a moment, could I just ask how you made sure that the funding was equally shared across the county and that no particular area got overwhelming amounts of the funding, please? Thank you.
Again, I think that may well be explained in what I've just promised to share with the panel, but there was evidence based in relation to need as well as the priority criteria that Angela has talked about. When we went to the stakeholder panels, including statutory partners, we also had an opportunity to look at the geographic spread as well as the equality impact issues that I've described.
To Mayor Abrahams and then Councillor Bunn, thank you.
Yeah, just a quick one. Was there any match funding as part of the criteria to ensure, we get value added, if possible?
No, there wasn't no match funding at all. Sorry, there was no match funding.
Any further questions on that? Yes, Councillor.
Neighbourhood policing would take priority over any other policing issues. Can you tell me how that is working out? Because in one instant, it was promised that neighbourhood personnel would not be taken out of their area for other policing duties. And I should like to know, is that happening? Because I've just been to a meeting with 60 residents in my area, and they said none of them actually know any of the neighbourhood policing team. I know that we're trying at the moment to do surgeries to help that situation, but as I say at the moment, the neighbourhood policing service in my area is not known. I just wondered how you're going to combat that.
We do have a diagram here of where the neighbourhood policing. You've seen that as well. To my understanding is we try not to abstract neighbourhood policing, but if there's an emergency or something, we need to pull them out to deal with that emergency. Unfortunately, it's not perfect at the moment, but we are trying and lessons are being learned.
And we'll also feed back, Councillor, your view in relation to the officers not being known, because that should not be the case any longer. Those names should be well communicated within the area. Yeah.
Thank you. For the next question, I've got Councillor Shepherd. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Councillor Bunn. I do beg your pardon. You wanted to come in, did you?
No, my question was very similar to one that's already been asked, so I'm happy to take the next one.
Councillor Shepherd, then. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, my question is about the Rural Watch, which is on page 34, paragraph 2.10. There's two parts to the, well, several parts to the question, actually. So what are the ambitions for the initiative in respect to volunteer recruitment coverage across the areas of Bassetlaw, Newark and Sherwood? Is it time-limited initiative? And what response has there been to date?
I think we're going to need to get the information sent to the councillor and the panel on that particular specific question. You'll know, Chair, that PCC Godden has spoken before about the rural offer generally, and rural crime, which is different. Obviously, rural communities are one thing. Rural crime as a specific crime type is different. And the offer given the neighbourhood teams and those that are trained in rural crime issues and wildlife crime issues is one of the best in the country. So this will enhance, the Rural Watch will enhance that cohort, if you like, of specialists, and also the engagement that goes on across those communities. But in terms of the specific question around volunteers and the uptake, I'll have to come back to the panel with those numbers.
Did you want to come back, Councillor?
Yes. I also wanted to ask about consultation in launching the scheme. What consultation has there been with the districts? Because a colleague at Bassetlaw wanted me to ask about this. He was concerned about the district's existing functions in terms of environmental crime, reporting of fly tipping and so on, and also the antisocial behaviour unit, and to what extent is this cutting across that and possibly causing a bit of confusion?
My understanding is that those officers that are specially trained and the force lead had consulted through both those members of the farming communities and the NFU in relation to farming issues. But in terms of those rural communities, I think it was through the neighbourhood teams, is my understanding.
Yeah, so consultation with the district council, I was asking you about specifically.
Don't know the answer to that one, sorry, sir.
Could I ask for a written response on that? Thank you.
I think it may be something that, is it helpful to put down, you identified a few things, and I'm mindful that the Commissioner isn't here, and that's no disrespect to our Deputy, but there is a bit in the report about things that have taken place for rural communities. I know I've read that myself, with high-vis jackets and various other things, but you've got a wider question that you want an answer to, I think, is what you're asking.
No, it's about this initiative, but to what extent has it been coordinated with the district council's work?
Yes, I understand that is the question, but I think the people that are here this afternoon will take that message back so that you can get an answer from the Commissioner. I think that's what you're asking for, isn't it? Yeah. I think the Chief Executive has noted that, so we can put that down as a potential action for you. I think that's what you wanted. Thank you. Mrs. Harding.
Good afternoon.
She's there.
I would like to ask a question about the 2 inspections which were done on the diversion of children from the criminal justice system. It was noted on page 44 that they felt that there was a fragmented and inconsistent approach to youth out-of-court disposals and weak evidence of their impact or cost-effectiveness. I would just like to know a bit more about what is happening in relation to the youths that are being dealt with using the out-of-court disposals, and what is going to be done to improve the situation. Thank you.
Okay, I'm happy to take that one. So the report that's referenced in the Commissioner's update report is actually a national inspection of out-of-court disposals or out-of-court resolutions, as they're now known locally, in relation to children and young people. I think in Nottinghamshire, there's a fairly strong offer now around sort of the youth out-of-court disposal, whether that's through our diverted prosecution scheme, projects like Operation Swift, which is operating in the north of the county, looking at sort of wildlife offences and sort of educational diversion schemes related to wildlife crime in the area. And of course, we've recently expanded the immediate justice programme to include children aged 12 to 17. We are about to start a very holistic review of outcomes. We've recently evaluated the immediate justice programme, but we'll be evaluating the suite of out-of-court resolutions that are available in Nottinghamshire early next year, so between January and March, where we'll be able to give a really kind of comprehensive update of the impact that it's having and the value for money that's being offered as a result of those the suite of options that are available. It's probably worth mentioning also that we're seeing increasing use of outcome 22 in terms of the crime outcomes, which is educational and diversionary outcomes. A marked increase over the last year as part of the force's shift to a more sort of child-centred policing approach. So that's all appears to be having a positive impact, but we'll be able to provide a bit more detail early next year, hopefully.
Is it possible to give us an update, say, in the March meeting, so that we can find out how it's actually progressing?
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be really
Thank
quite
you.
timely. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think Councillor Ellis would like to come in on this topic as well.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the response. It's an interesting read. I read the Peel report, because there's only, of 18 recommendations, there's only one that seems to apply to the police. But there was a statistic in there which talks about 65% reduction in new entrants into the criminal justice system. And I looked on the performance report, and for the county, it's a 33%. Does this mean that we are behind the curve in terms of reducing the number of new entrants?
I would have to check the national figures on that in terms of what the parameters are, what that, time period they're looking at in terms of the 60-odd%. But certainly, I believe that we've seen some of the strongest reductions nationally over the last year, certainly in Nottingham City, in first-time entrants. So I probably just need to make sure that we're comparing like with like in terms of the time period for that reduction.
As Mrs. Harding said, it would be interesting to see a comprehensive review. Maybe we could roll all this into that. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to come back, Mrs. Harding? Okay, thank you. The next person wishing to ask a question is Councillor Bunn. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. At previous meetings, I've raised concerns over the usage of e-bikes and e-scooters in particular, and I was hoping that, Police Crime Commissioner Godden assured us that he'd be able to have an update, particularly as there was a discussion of some campaigns in the lead up to Christmas, and I was hoping you could give an update on that today. We've had a number of incidents, particularly with it, I'm particularly aware of the ones within my borough. We've had some very serious incidents, but I know that also it's a concern wider across the county. I know there is work being done, for example, increased guidance and training being given out to police forces, but my understanding is that this has been delayed several times, and obviously that's then causing delays in actually initiating the work being done in communities. And also the other thing that relates to this, there's not much about this in the report at all, so if you could just give us an update now, that would be brilliant. But also to note, the only comment on this that is in the report is on page 54 at the bottom of the page, where it does talk about the use of line bikes in Nottingham City. And I'd also like some assurance that where things like line bikes do actually operate outside the Nottingham City boundary as well, and to make sure that the relevant boroughs and local authorities are also being involved in that multi-agency working group approach. Because, like I say, it's not just within the city, it's increasingly expanding beyond these limits, and that is having a much wider effect on communities outside. If you could give us an update. Thank you.
Thank you. The force is invested in improved data analysis and performance monitoring using new tools to enhance the ability to identify and respond to local concerns in real time. Where it's safe and necessary to do so, officers will seize and destroy illegal scooters. The force is also working with the Fire and Rescue Service to address the fire safety risk and that these items present. Force is working with the National Police Chiefs Council to explore tech solutions to disable scooters where necessary, and planning a high-profile campaign in the run-up to Christmas to deter those buying and selling illegal scooters. And one of the campaigns that I'll be doing is about warning parents that these are illegal and they can be confiscated, because some parents will think about buying those for Christmas. In terms of line bikes, there's multi-agency working group helped to deliver improved security features, successful prosecutions, tracker batteries in hotspot areas, targeted enforcement and offender identification. There's a reduction in reported incidents and improved the force's ability to respond to emerging crime trends. So there is quite a bit of work that has been done out there, and we'll continue to do that work, working in partnership with all agencies involved. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got two other coming in on the same topic. I've got Councillor Woodings first, and then Councillor Taylor. Thank you, and then Mrs. Harding. Have I missed anybody else out? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I was really pleased to see Nottinghamshire Police in Nottingham Old Market Square 2 Mondays ago actually stopping illegal e-bikes that actually don't need to be pedalled. They're actually motorbikes. And I wonder if we could have confirmation that that sort of intervention will be continuing through to Christmas as well. I think at the September meeting, it was also discussed about working with schools to get messages out to parents in relation to not buying illegal e-scooters for their children in the run-up to Christmas. And I just wondered how far that particular stream of work had developed as well. And just a point of information, I do, as the transport lead for the city, meet regularly with Lime Bikes, and I will convey the information that, because I know they do work outside of the city boundary, I will convey that information that the councillors in Broxtowe Borough would like a meeting as well. So just a quick add-on to that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Would it be helpful, Deputy Commissioner, I've got two others who want to come in on the same topic, if you take their comments as well. So Councillor Taylor first, please.
Thank you. I've been informed by officers that Nottinghamshire does not have tactics for stopping or addressing e-scooters, to the extent that you get groups of young people on them wearing balaclavas, circling police cars to take the mickey out of the police, and then riding off, and there's no way of doing anything about it, they're saying. They say it's embarrassing and frustrating at the same time. I know that Manchester, for example, has some tactics that they use for e-scooters. Can we have a real clampdown, please? Because they're causing real nuisance in many parts of the county. Thank you.
Councillor, just as an aside, we wouldn't want to tip those people off. Perhaps you could send, if you've got information on what Manchester are doing, if you could send that to the Chief Exec or to the Deputy Crime Commissioner. I'm sure they'd be happy to receive that. Thank you. So it's Mrs. Harding next. Thank you.
As regards e-bikes, I noted that Derbyshire Police Force are actually coordinating their response to e-bikes with immigration as well. I wondered if that's going to happen in Nottinghamshire, because you go to the Market Square and you just see so many e-bikes, and they're wearing masks, so we don't know who they are, and there's no identification of these riders. They're also riding a vehicle which should be taxed if it's considered a moped. So are they being prosecuted? Thank you.
Thank you. Before you respond, we've one more, if I may, and that's, two more. Mayor Abraham and Councillor Wilmot, thank you.
Yeah, it's what more can we do on the consumer side of things, including maybe having presentations right outside where they're being purchased, where and pointing out that parental responsibility before that they do it. So I think that would be quite hard hitting for the police to be outside the place where they're being purchased. But also, what can we do online? Because obviously a lot of them will just go and purchase them from Amazon or wherever. So maybe some approach to them to show what accountability for allowing those purchases to be made.
Yeah, it's just that this is a serious problem. It really is. I've been going to Sunday markets just recently, and I'm seeing them available for sale. Surely, if they are illegal to ride, they should be illegal to sell. It's absolutely incredible. And we've not talked about the squad bikes that at the moment are running around all our towns and so forth, and going on into areas where, and it seems that I know it's difficult to stop them and this, that, and the other, but they just, they just seem to be a law to themselves with the balaclavas on. You can't see who they are or anything, and that's also happening now on children on bicycles with balaclavas, and that's another serious issue. And I'm told, that some of them are actually delivering drugs. It's an awful situation to think this is happening, but I just wondered how we're going to combat this situation. It really is serious. And also the final thing is in our town centres, the parking of vehicles. I mean, the police have said, well, parking on double yellow lines, that's a county issue. But it's not just a county issue, because they're parking illegally. You know, through being a nuisance parking kind of situation, when they're going into shops and so forth, and really calamitous issues are taking place in our town centres at the moment. All of it needs to be investigated. There ought to be a real surge on the whole situation. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know, you're coming back, are you? Thank you, Andrew.
I'll be speaking and Michelle will chip in as well. There's a lot there, so we'll try to cover everything we can. It did start off with saying about the intervention. Will the intervention continue? It will continue with the illegal e-scooters, and it will be partnership working, the force and the local authorities. One of the things is, like we mentioned, a campaign will be done out there, a video campaign. That campaign is to reach out to, obviously, the children and the parents as well, because the parents do have a responsibility. There was something mentioned about what more can we do on the consumer side. One is we're trying to send the message out to parents about purchasing those e-scooters, which are illegal, for Christmas presents. They will get confiscated. So the message is going to go out there through social media. But again, if everybody can work in collaboration to get those messages out, it will benefit us more. Councillor Taylor, you mentioned the Manchester initiative. It would be good to really share that with us, because any form of initiative will be good, and we will try whatever we possibly can. At the moment, with obviously youths wearing balaclavas, there's no law against it, so unfortunately there's nothing what the police can do about that. What was the other thing? Sunday markets on sale to buy e-scooters. I think those are the things that we need to report to trading standards, who can actually send officers down there and try to stop that from happening, or prosecuting or giving fines. There was something else about online. It's about legislation with online. We do not have the powers to stop, retailers selling e-scooters online. It's legislation that needs to change there. And on that, I'll hand over to Michelle, the ones I've missed out.
Yes, just to add to what the Deputy Commissioner's already covered. The City Commander, Gary and I met with the City Commander a couple of weeks ago. It was actually in the context of retail crime, and we met with the BID in the city. But the conversation spilled out in relation to this very issue, and the Commander is determined in the city to tackle this issue, and Gary wants to ensure the county are equally tackling it. Seizing those scooters and bikes that have been illegally used, either because of the contravention of road traffic law or because they're being used antisocially. So he's determined to take action in relation to that, and there's been some good results already. There is Safer Streets Winter Initiative. We've had the Summer Initiative, and now the government have announced Winter Initiative, which starts on the 1st of December and lasts all the way through to the 31st of January. And that is to target, as in the summer, antisocial behaviour, retail crime, and other areas of high volume crime, etc., so that the government are getting tough on those crimes and antisocial behaviour instances that are blighting communities in the run-up to Christmas and beyond. So I have no doubt that locally, plans in relation to tackling these sorts of issues will feature in the plans of the commanders and the district councils in response to that initiative. Angela has covered the campaign and where we want to get that to. We're already in schools through education officers through the force, but also through our violence reduction partnership. We're already in schools, and where we can give wider messages beyond serious violence, but into other educational messages through campaigns, we use those opportunities so that we go in once. In relation to Councillor Taylor talking about the tactics, clearly you wouldn't expect me in a public meeting to go into operationally sensitive information. However, I can tell Councillor Taylor and those that are listening that the police have techniques, approaches to deal with crime and antisocial behaviour. But if there is a scooter or a bike rider that doesn't wear a helmet, and to pursue them would be dangerous to both the rider or the police or other members of the public, they will not pursue such a tactic. So I don't think I can comment any further in relation to that, and hopefully that's covered the areas that the Deputy Commissioner couldn't. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got two hands coming up. I've got, I think I saw yours first, Councillor Bunn, and then Councillor Cox.
Thank you. And thank you for the very long answer there, because I think that shows the sort of like breadth and complexity of this issue and the way it impacts on lots of different other types of crime as well. You know, a discussion there about like being used in like drugs, you know, and like I say, it's also like road incidents. It also factors into like, you know, a number of different areas. And I think, you know, it is very complicated, and appreciate sort of that makes it very hard to give simple updates on. The thing that I just wanted to pick up again, because I think it got touched on by a number of people there in different ways and didn't get a full answer, was that thing about the forces techniques and tactics and approach to it, that we, as you know, there do seem to be different responses coming from different forces about the level of support they're getting around that. My understanding is that there is, you know, guidance and there is training, and that is being offered. It's not happening quickly enough, and, you know, that is being delayed. So can we have some concrete assurance that that will be looked at to ensure that, you know, across Nottinghamshire, all of the teams are getting the support they need to access that training and guidance, and they are getting it quickly to make the interventions that are clearly needed in communities across Nottinghamshire? Thank you.
I can assure the panel that if the force feels they are without guidance, they are pushing for it. And some of these issues are national. So in relation to tackling manufacturers, in relation to changes in legislation, in relation to national guidance from the College of Policing or the Home Office, that's all being pushed nationally. And yes, the force are determined to tackle this robustly.
Thank you. We've got Councillor Cox. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a point of clarity, really, for the assistant in relation to the bikes and the sale of the bikes and sort of getting trading standards to go into them. It's not illegal to buy electrical, you know, the scooters. So punishing the shop owners who have purchased those to sell them legally might be a difficult thing for trading standards to uptake. So my thought on this, quite clearly, is that it's a policing issue and not a trading standards issue, more than anything, because once the shopkeeper has sold that item, it's beyond his control, because you can use it on the, you know, on your private land and stuff like that. So I think we didn't ought to be looking at trading standards as a solution, but as a policing solution.
I think one of the things is it's not illegal to buy an e-scooter. So I think it's looking at changing the legislation on that. That's the first port of call. In terms of the Sunday markets, I was just assuming, like, you know, car boot sales and everything where trading standards could go into. But yes, it's correct, you're right. But it's the legislation that needs to change. But in the meantime, if people are tampering with the e-scooters and making them, you know, go faster and everything, that is illegal. And that's where the police can confiscate those and take those bikes away. So we're in a kind of a catch-22 situation. I think what we need to do is lobby for the law to change on these as well. Thank you.
It's not an easy fix by the sounds of it, by any stretch of the imagination. So we'll obviously, I think, keep coming back to this in most meetings, I suspect, for a while. Thank you. If there are no further questions on that, can we move then to Item 6, which is the performance update. I think I've missed a step. I do beg your pardon. I think I've missed out. Where is she? Oh, she's there, thank you. Leslie Dolby, thank you. I apologise for missing your question.
Thank you, Chair. My question relates to the capital budget on page 43, in particular the considerable slippage in the fleet budget. What is your understanding of the causes of this slippage and what lessons can be learned and taken forward to prevent similar in the future?
Can I just check that everyone heard that? You might need to pull your microphone a little bit. Did everyone hear?
Did you hear?
I think so, yes, thank you.
Yeah. Just in relation to the capital budget, over recent years, I could say the force have gripped the capital programme robustly in relation to working with budget holders and those leading the programmes in force. So capital, when you talk about a police force, will relate to IT, the estate in relation to buildings, buying and selling, and the fleet. Those are the main capital areas for spend. And depending on the arrival of equipment or the purchase and sale of land, then programmes can slip, and we keep an eye on that. So not only do the force robustly challenge that through their Chief Finance Officer and Head of Finance, but the Commissioner and his CFO also keep a monitoring eye on that at monthly planning and efficiency group meetings where we go through the capital programme and areas of slippage. We ask whether there's anything that can be done to avoid it. But I think the starting point is the strategic planning timetable that the PCC leads with the Chief Officer team in the force. And that ensures that the capital programme is realistic in terms of its ability to be delivered on time in the first place. And that has been improved over the last 2 years in relation to the needs-based budgeting that has taken place very closely working with force colleagues in the run-up to the budget being set.
Did you want to come back?
Yeah. Is there any information in particular about the fleet budget? Because that's one that stands out.
Yes, we can certainly give headlines in relation to what was anticipated to be in the capital programme for fleet and the areas of slippage. We can give that to the panel members.
Would that be helpful for you? Thank you, thank you. If there are no other questions, can we move then to item 6, which is the Police and Crime Plan performance update. Over to you, Dan, thank you.
Thanks. So I'll just give a very brief overview of some of the performance against the 12 key performance indicators that panel members will be aware of, set out in the Police and Crime Plan. So it's just to highlight the vast majority of indicators are either exceeding or within 5 percentage points of the current ambition. I think the two areas that we're seeing some of the strongest performance are around first-time entrance into the criminal justice system that we've already mentioned, which is showing a decreasing trend of around 25% in the last year. I think we're still awaiting the most recent data from the city, so to confirm the figures there, but you'll see from the chart that's in the report really a very positive trajectory in terms of those reductions. That's been driven by changes in policy and the embedding the child-centred approach. As I've mentioned earlier, the greater use of outcome 22, educational and diversionary outcomes, and things like a deferred prosecution scheme, all of the prevention and early intervention work, obviously, that's being spearheaded by the VRP and Prevention Hub in Nottinghamshire. Detached youth work, school and community navigators, and the Another Way project, just to name but a few. The other really strong area of performance is around positive outcomes, which stand at around 17.3% now, positive outcomes, which remain stronger than the national and regional average. And Nottinghamshire's long been one of the strongest performing police forces in terms of positive outcomes. And that's really been bolstered over the last year by the improvements that we've seen in investigations that have been driven by the Op Catalyst improvement programme. And you'll see in the report there that the quality of investigations as measured by the QUAT assessment tool is now consistently scoring 3.6 out of 5, which is very positive. We've got increasing use of rapid video response, which is helping to secure evidence at the scene. Also in the performance pack, you'll see the proportion of crimes where a suspect is identified has increased by 2 percentage points over the last year, alongside fewer crimes with no suspect identified or that are closed due to evidential difficulties. So all very positive. The three areas of concern are all public confidence related, based on the police and crime survey indicators. So public confidence in the police, that remains stable around 50%. So we're not seeing the uplift that we were hoping to see at this stage of the year. We are somewhat, I think, at the mercy of negative media articles, more often than not involving the Metropolitan Police Service, which also no doubt have an impact on general perceptions and public confidence locally, particularly given that I think around 77% of those that respond to this survey have had no direct contact with the police over the last year. The other areas of concern are obviously the visibility of police where needed, so that's seen a 3% reduction in the last year, and perceptions that the police are tackling issues of greatest local concern. So we're seeing reductions in both of these despite extensive efforts to increase visibility and local problem-solving activity. We've seen a marked increase in use of Neighbourhood Alert, now over 46,000 subscribers and rising. In response to these areas, all these issues of areas for improvement, both the Force and OPCC are redoubling our efforts in promoting positive outcomes and landing key messages in communities. So our comms and engagement, head of comms and engagement has developed a new strategy which is being socialised with executive leaders across the partnership as part of the PCC's strategic board to bring sort of greater consistency to the messaging and campaigns in operation. There's ongoing work to promote Neighbourhood Alert and the Force's MAPS multi-agency problem-solving process at the neighbourhood level. We've got targeted high visibility activity operations like OPSEPTA, which is running this week, and the Winter of Action that's been announced that starts in December. But ultimately, we are yet to see the improvements, and it kind of builds on the point that Councillor Wilmot made earlier, actually, around the kind of the knowledge and awareness of neighbourhood policing teams, despite some of our best efforts. So that's where we are in terms of the performance picture.
Thank you very much. I think I've got Councillor Wilmot, I think, as wanting a question. Thank you.
Very much. I think the situation is it's all about public confidence in the police, and it has unfortunately continued to fall over the past year, with public confidence levels now 4.6% below the improvement ambition within the police and crime plan. Can you elaborate on the work being undertaken to address the continued depressed level of public confidence in the police? Also, the perception police are visible in areas of greatest need, and the perception police are tackling issues of local concern and victim satisfaction with the services. Are they receiving are they all seriously below the expected performance that we're all hoping for? And the positive outcomes on all crime is sitting at 17.3%. Now, can you explain this indicator to me? Because I'm concerned. Does it mean that only 17.3% of crime is being successfully investigated? And finally, has any work been carried out in Ashfield and Bassetlaw to understand the low levels of confidence among residents there, and to establish what the issues of their greatest concern and when they are going to be addressed? And I'd like to know, can we as councillors help in any of this issue? Is there anything we can do? Because we're in the thick of it. We're talking to residents all the time. Is there anything that we can do to try and help? Because this can't continue, to people chastising us and the police because they don't know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll let people ruminate on your last point. My apologies, I missed Councillor Taylor. I do apologise.
Thank you. The first one was regarding violent knife crime and it being down by 5.4%. I think we can all welcome that. But we have had a number of incidents across Nottinghamshire, not just in Nottingham City, which was referred to previously, but also in Newark and Sherwood. We had a fatality as a result of knife crime. And I wondered if I could be given some reassurance that every division has access to a knife arch so that they can do campaigns, say locating it in the entrance to different pubs, so that as people go through they can be checked that they're not carrying knives. And also the same with knife wands, which allow police officers to search people as they're going, quick whip over, which are both really important issues. So that's on the 6.1, but seeing as we've gone on to 6.2 as well, public confidence is down again, and that's quite clear. Part of that, I think, is by some politicians who are actually making comments about crime, stirring up a mistrust in the police, which I think is a concern. And I would ask all politicians to actually think before they talk about crime and think how they get talking about it, because they're falsely making people more worried. But the one problem I see in Newark and Sherwood, or in Newark at the moment, we have 5 vacancies for PCSOs. And I understand that during the last round of recruitment, they all went into Nottingham City that were recruited. Can these vacancies be filled quite quickly, please?
Yes, thank you. I was just looking to see who was going to come in and just give a quick answer on some of those points that have been raised. And I think it's Dan coming in to respond.
Yeah, so I'm happy to take. So in terms of the public confidence point, we really are sort of doing all we can really in terms of our work with the force to improve improve visibility and B, kind of improve some of the, and it kind of links into the point that's been raised there really, but a little more control over sort of the narrative and as part of the media strategy, so that we can address some of those, the misinformation ultimately around and disinformation around levels of risk. I think that we've certainly got some very detailed analysis that's coming out of the Police and Crime Survey that sheds light on some of the drivers of low levels of public confidence in Basset law, often linked to perceptions around visibility. But I can share much more detail outside of the meeting in terms of the findings by area in terms of public confidence. The PCC is represented at the Force's Earning Trust and Confidence Board, which is really working to grip this in terms of looking at all of the drivers of public trust and confidence and the elements that are within our local control. And of course, there's the upcoming suite of high-profile, high-visibility operations, including OpScepter and the Winter of Action that I've mentioned. Is there anything else on public confidence from? Yeah.
Just want to say we have the VRP and the Prevention Hub programmes happening. We've got the VRP 12-week group programmes with Operation Scepter. It's twice yearly in May and November, 17th to 23rd of November this week. In May, there was 30 arrests, 5 knives seized, 4 amnesty bins with 222 knives deposited, 13 test purchasing ops, and then we had the possession offences up 2%. Then with the serious violence, that was down by 21%. Hospital admissions for sharp object were down by 10%. Possession offences up 2%. County lines down from 25 to 8. And in terms of knife archers, it's where there is needed that we can try to get one there. It's not 100% guaranteed. So I just wanted to add those as well.
Thank you. We haven't finished yet. I've got Councillor Woodings, Councillor Shepherd and Councillor Cox, I think still wanting to comment on what was started by Councillor Taylor, I think.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to, and I appreciate it might be difficult to talk in a public session about this, but obviously there's a bit of a concern that drug offences are up 8.3% over the past 12 months. I wonder if either at our visit to Sherwood Lodge or at a future closed session, we could have some understanding about what action is being taken to address that, especially because it's just over 1 year on that Project Reacher, which by my perception was very successful in Nottingham, was actually dissolved as a specific project, and those individuals were absorbed into neighbourhood policing. So I appreciate that a lot of that involves organised crime, but it does also talk to this issue about public confidence in policing as well. And I hope that obviously the Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner would join me in urging people seeing drug dealing on their streets to report, because the police need that intelligence as well in order that they can act. But I think it would be really helpful if at a future session we could have some understanding of what is actually happening on the ground as far as addressing street drug dealing in particular. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to hear what the
I think if I just come in on that, Chair, if I may. So I think, yes, is the answer. Yes, we can provide information in relation to the 15th of December briefing. And you will often hear the police say that where there are possession offences, whether that's possession of weapons or possession of drugs, that's a result of proactivity on behalf of the police to find them in the first place in relation to stop and searches, etc. So I think that will answer some of it, but I'm not suggesting that's a reason for all of the increase. And I think the police need to explain their proactivity, and the neighbourhood model was introduced for problem solving, to look at targeted activity where those sorts of stops and searches were required. So I would expect them to say something along those lines, because we've had similar conversations with the force. Yes, of course, we can provide more information. And I've spoken to the Deputy Commissioner as well about the e-bikes and e-scooters issue, and if we can squeeze that into the programme on the 15th of December in relation to tactics and approaches, we're willing to explore that with the force as well, if that helps panel members.
Thank you for that. Thank you. If we can have Councillor Shepherd next, thank you, and then Councillor Cox.
I was going to ask about the public confidence in the police as well, but I think you've answered that question, but specifically about Bassetlaw. If you're able to give me anything in writing about what you've been doing in terms of trying to understand why it's so low in Bassetlaw, that would be really helpful. Thank you. So the other question I was going to ask was about speeding, because again, that's increasing concern. And I'm wondering whether you're doing any work about what's behind that and what interventions are being planned on speeding in rural areas particularly. It's a perception that I've got as well, that it's an issue with a sort of minority of aggressive drivers. But
That's, shall we just carry on with the... there's a couple, I think, that are going to still pick up the confidence issue. And then perhaps it gives you time to think about the question that Councillor Shepherd has just added to. So I think I've got Councillor Cox, and I think Councillor Bernard declared she wanted to speak on this as well. So Councillor Cox, shall we pick up your comment?
Yeah, excuse me, thank you. The report, excuse me, the report generally, it's really good, really detailed. My only concern is that there's a lot of percentages in there, but no actual numbers. So we can reference those percentages. You know, if I give you a figure of 10 and I do 50% increase on that, you know, I'm at 15. But it's a real number. So, excuse me. Can I ask that any future reports contain the actual numbers as well as the percentage increase or decreases, please? Just so we can make a real term reference to that of, you know, 800 plus thousand people in the county. And it just makes it easier for people to understand how that percentage relates to actual numbers. That's my only comment with regards to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Got Councillor Button and then Councillor, excuse me, Wilmot.
Yeah, so just on the issue of public confidence, there's a little bit I want to talk about this, which there's another question a little bit about ASB, which also relates back to this, and I'll bring it in there as well. But it was just when you say that you've got, in the report, you know that you've got additional information on each of the areas, and I think it would be really good to like sort of share that and to have a bit of greater understanding of how that breaks down. And just to note on this as well, like one of the things that comes up to me repeatedly is that people just, you know, they keep telling me that they do report things and they just don't see action, they don't see that visibility, and this is a really key concern. And I know it's really hard to combat because obviously then you get the sort of like the public perception, and you know, it's something we talk about in both ways. So we talk about there's increasing figures for you know, drug offences, you know, how much of that's to do with reporting versus actuality, and then at the same time we get decreasing figures for some things and how much of that's to do with perception versus reality. So I know it's a really complicated one, so we could just have, you know, maybe a bit more of an in-detail look at this in future, and sort of this public perception issue, because it is really important, like I say, to sort of re-enable that trust from our communities in the sort of police and the service that they're being given, and I think it is a very difficult one at the moment.
I would just say on that we, as part of the police and crime survey, we don't just ask about public confidence, we ask about people's experience of crime and antisocial behaviour and feelings of safety. There's a whole raft of measures in there, but certainly the experience of crime and antisocial behaviour we can use in contrast to some of the recorded crime trends, and often they marry up quite neatly, and sometimes they show opposing accounts. So I think there's a further dimension that we can bring, really, that takes into account that self-reported experience of crime. While I've got the mic as well, if I could just sort of pick up on the point that Councillor Wilmot made around the positive outcome rates. So I think there's certainly more information that we can share in terms of that, because I do appreciate that a 17% positive outcome rate doesn't sound awfully great in the grand scheme of things, but I have noted that it is higher than the regional and national average. And in terms of what happens to that other sort of 83%, around 40% of crimes are concluded with no suspect being identified, and you'll appreciate that there's a lot of very minor, low-level crimes that will happen in remote areas where there are sort of a lack of leads and investigative opportunities. Around 22% of all crime is closed because a victim either doesn't support or withdraws support for police action. So it's over a fifth of all crime are a result of victims withdrawing from the process and not wanting to pursue a criminal justice outcome. And that actually rises to around 62%, sorry, when you look at domestic abuse and sexual offences. So, so there's a lot to this picture ultimately, but if we can share more detail of the actual breakdown of crime outcomes and how that's profiled, I think it would help to put that 17% in context.
Oops, thank you. I think that's going to be very helpful to have those discussions in camera, as it were. Thank you. I've got, I think I've got almost to the end. I know we've got a question from Mrs. Leslie. Have I missed you, Councillor Shepherd? Or?
Yeah, I didn't actually get a response on the speeding question and concern about speeding. And I did ask at a previous meeting, and Gary talked about a new initiative, but I've not had any information about that. And, you know, I've got concerns about that. So any information on interventions with regard to speeding, particularly in rural areas?
I think Gary will get back to you on that one, that initiative, but I've got some information here on, you know, we had a deep dive scrutiny at the Police and Crime Commissioners Accountability Board on the 12th of November on speeding. The Police and Crime Commissioner represented on Notts Road Safety Partnership. There's been over 108,000 offences processed annually on speeding. There's 22 volunteer community speed watch groups now active, with the dashcam submissions increasing 1,415 annually, 68% result in enforcement action, We've got Operation Limit, which will run throughout December on drink drive intensification. With Operation Lockstream, that's the M1, 64 vehicles were stopped, arrests and vehicles seizures. We had, with that, over 16,000 in fines recovered or issued. We got 31,788 driver awareness courses delivered each year. 32% reduction in road collisions since 2015, and slight injury collisions are down 40%. That's what we've got so far.
Thank you. I think Councillor Shepherd wanted to come back in, and then it'll be Mrs Leslie.
Yeah, I'd just say, well, obviously there's still concern out there with the public, that rising concern. I'm not sure speed watch is really a substitute for police enforcement. Relying on local volunteers, it can be difficult, particularly in particularly busy roads going through villages. There was just a point about the dash cam footage, and anecdotally, someone was just telling me yesterday that there was a problem with submitting videos on the portal. I've not tried it myself, but apparently it was just going on and on for 12 hours and then just stopping. So they weren't sure whether it had been uploaded at all. So either it's not working properly or there's just too many people trying to submit videos. But in the past it has worked, she said. It just seems to be a problem recently. Okay, thanks, Annie.
Did you want to come back?
I think with the dash camera, if there's a problem with the portal, it's something that we can look at. In terms of the community speed watch groups, we just don't rely on that, but when communities want to get involved and engage with us, it is really positive, and they want to take some ownership in the rural areas as well. We will work in partnership with them, but just not rely on them to do it on their own.
I think just to add, Chair, that the police have finite resources to obviously deal with antisocial behaviour and crime across the whole force area, and they've got to prioritise those resources in terms of need. The Road Safety Partnership also supports that in terms of activity. So where there's not an identified need in terms of data in relation to an area, but local residents feel that there's still a concern around speeding, etc. So police resources might not be dispatched there because of their prioritisation. And as I say, they've got finite resources. However, Gary and the Chief Officer team and the Road Safety Partnership are looking at these community speed watch to extend that workforce, if you like, to those areas, because it falls in with the Police and Crime Plan, where Gary, as Police and Crime Commissioner, is prioritising local concerns and responding to those local concerns, albeit not necessarily with very precious police resources that are finite. I think that's the only thing to add.
Thank you very much for that update. Can I come to you in a minute, please? I've got Mrs Dalby and then Councillor Ellis, and then I'll come to you, Councillor Whitworth.
My observation is on a different subject altogether. It's on about staff resources, and I wonder if we could actually bring this to the table at our December meeting. In particular, I'm interested in staffing levels in response to about special constable numbers. That appears to be missing from page 75 of the report. No details of special constable numbers. I'm interested in the number of CPSOs and allocation across the county. The levels of redirection of resource that are still happening, as we heard anecdotally, and in particular the levels of experience in the force. Because anecdotally it appears that people now are looking not for the police as a career, but just stepping stones to other opportunities. So it's very important that of these resources that we've got, do we know the experience levels? So I wonder if all that could come in a package of information that we could have a discussion on our December meeting.
Yes, I understand that there is data in relation to specials. in the report, although I'm just trying to find the page number. But we also scrutinise the workforce figures at the monthly planning and efficiency group that the PCC chairs. We know that specials recruitment is in place, but has been low in terms of those people coming forward in relation to recent recruitment exercises, and we've asked the force to continue those efforts, and more recruitment is planned. In relation to a previous question about PCSO numbers, and it's the same with specials, often you find that those that occupy those positions, both volunteers as specials and the PCSOs, see that as a stepping stone to becoming a regular officer. So when we have regular officer recruitment, we lose people from those other roles, and then you have to start the pipeline again. Page 64 of the pack, I understand the specials figures are, but yes, we can provide data, but I'm just concerned about the December meeting agenda has increased quite considerably during the meeting, but Rachel can no doubt work with Noel on how members want us to structure that agenda to get the best value of your time.
Thank you. Did you want to come back?
I had overlooked this page 64, but yeah.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Ellis and then Councillor Wilmot as probably the last question on this particular item.
Thank you, Chair. Looking at page 65, I want to go back to the ASB issue. Page 65 shows that police recorded antisocial behaviour has gone down 25% since the 2023 baseline. But yet the percentage of people experiencing ASB is going the opposite direction. The two are going in different directions. You got any thoughts on why that is?
Yeah, this is one of the case in point, really, one of those scenarios where we're seeing a very different picture in the police and crime survey to the police recorded ASB picture. While some of the reductions that we're seeing in police recorded ASB relates to sort of genuine reductions that we've seen in some areas, we're also seeing a bit of a channel shift in reporting. So we're seeing more being reported to local authorities than police in some areas. According to the police and crime survey, we are seeing increases in people's experience of fly tipping, vehicle-related nuisance, and people using and dealing drugs in their area or perceptions of. So that's where we're seeing some of the sort of the increases, as well as some of the lower volume ASB categories of street drinking, intimidated gatherings, and aggressive begging. These are potentially areas that are observed but not always reported to the police. So these are some of the areas that we're seeing a bit that disparity ultimately. But there are some upcoming changes to force policy in relation to ASB and making sure that demand is going to the right agency at the right time. And there's likely to be some changes in policy around the recording of noise nuisance complaints, which will take effect in the new year, which will bring us more in line with other police force areas and the way that they're dealing with these cases. So, yeah, it's a bit of an evolving picture, but certainly in terms of self-reported experience, yeah, we are seeing that increase that we're aware of, acutely aware of.
Thank you. Councillor Wilmot and then Councillor Bunn, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I've got three specific areas of concern. One is from the report about the drug offences and on the increase. Now, I go to a lot of meetings, and I mean a lot of meetings with residents, and it's been relayed to me by residents that youngsters are delivering, as I say, drugs on bicycles with hoodies on and so forth, and that high-speed cars are delivering drugs to many households. Have you had any evidence of this happening, and how do you combat a problem like this? That's the first one. The second one, I'm told by residents they feel antisocial behaviour incidents are not being reported by residents. And I asked why, and they say, oh, it's a waste of time. I said, no, it isn't a waste of time, but how can we tackle this issue that people think it's a waste of time because they don't see that, I know all crimes are recorded, they don't see a lot happening if it's just an ordinary antisocial behaviour. They wait until it happens a dozen times before they start to do something about it on that one. And the final one, there's been an increase in domestic crime. We all know that. Do you have any evidence that drug abuse has increased this problem of domestic abuse? Because it does seem to me that many of the situations that I've been involved in seems to be that drugs have been behind it. That's my 3 questions.
Yeah, I'll take the so the first point there around ASB. So yeah, we again, as part of the police and crime survey, we know that around 13% of the ASB that people experience gets reported to the police, and that's been falling incrementally year on year. So 13%. There's around 15% goes on to be reported to local authorities. There are the reasons for not reporting are many and varied. Some do link to issues of trust and confidence, a feeling that no action will necessarily be taken. But others also don't report because the ASB is considered inconsequential, or you know, we're asking about people's experience, but in many cases it has a very low impact in terms of quality of life. In those cases, residents often don't go on to report for that reason, that they feel it's too trivial to report ultimately, and that's in line with findings from the Crime Survey for England and Wales as well. But yeah, in order to get that full and comprehensive picture, we do obviously encourage reporting so that we can have the full understanding really of ASB and local communities. I think that's probably all I have to say on that one. But,
I just want to add on regarding residents not reporting antisocial behaviour because they feel it's a waste of time. There's quite a few residents who won't report it because they're worried that if they report the offender, then they'll get a backlash as well. What I would encourage is for them to report it through the portal at local authorities, and then the community protection officers, along with the police officers, they go together to address the issues in the areas. So that's a way of doing that. And then they've got it documented. In terms of increase in domestic abuse, is it drug abuse? No, it's various issues. It's controlling coercive behaviour, could be honour-based, it could be economic abuse. It's not just focused on drug abuse. That is just one particular area as well. And youngsters, you know, delivering drugs on bicycles, it does happen, but they deliver in various ways. That's just another way of getting the drugs out there as well. So they still do it in cars, they do it on motorbikes, they do it on buses, they do it on trams, they do it in any form of transport they can. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bunn. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for the information on sort of changes to the process around antisocial behaviour. I know you talked specifically about sort of low-level instances of ASB. So one of the problems that I come across often when I talk to particularly businesses, but also residents that live in areas where they see a lot of antisocial behaviour is, as you say, it's sort of those lower-level instances. It's not something where they're going to call 999 because someone's being, you know, threatened or whatever, but it is a build-up and it has a considerable cumulative effect on their sort of daily lives. You know, people relating back to sort of the Safe Streets campaign, people will choose to go different ways home because they don't want to walk down, you know, that particular road and so on. And one of the problems they talk about is that, particularly for those level things, like I say, it's the combined effect, but there is no way to report multiple things in one day, that in one go. They'd have to do an individual report for every single instance. So what happens then is when there is a significant instance, they will report that, but all those smaller daily, you know, microaggressions, whatever you want to call it, it's not quite the right term, but anyway, ignore that, just, you know, they get missed and overlooked. So if you are looking at that reporting process, could that be looked at, please? And, you know, some way of allowing, you know, like I say, particularly businesses, but also, you know, hopefully more widely, reporting of saying, you know, I've had this series of 10 incidents over the last 2 weeks. Here are the dates and times. You know, here's where they happened. It's not something where people are going to call out the police because, like I said, they've got limited resources. They're not going to come respond on the spot, unfortunately. But it all helps to build up that picture, and maybe, you know, it adds into, we need more patrols in that area, we need more visibility, we need to be thinking about those sort of things. And like I say, it does tie in with other areas of work being done. I know Angela's leading on sort of the Safer Streets campaign, and because it particularly affects, you know, women and more vulnerable groups in those instances. Like, they do just tend to be disproportionately affected by that sort of activity. So if that's something that could be looked at, that would be brilliant. And I just want to pick up on the thing, there was something talked about it being trivial. And I know what you mean by that, but like I say, it can have a very significant effect, and it can lead to, you know, people changing their behaviour and choosing not to engage in activities that they would otherwise do, or not being able to, you know, do active travel to places that they have to like take taxis, and then that limits their opportunities. So it can have quite a big effect despite the, you know, perhaps small, you know, comparatively small nature of the crime.
If I could just say, the police certainly don't treat any report of antisocial behaviour as trivial. So the encouragement is there to members of the public to report everything. And as Angela says, there's ways of doing that. There's also Crime Stoppers to report things anonymously. And one only has to be reminded of the tragic case, I think I've got the name right, Fiona Pilkington, in Leicestershire, I believe, where that was an escalating course of conduct around antisocial behaviour with tragic circumstances and the tragic ending. So I don't believe at all that police trivialise this, and that members of the public need to report even the first incident, because then the police know where patterns of behaviour can have started and where activity is taking place in localities.
Just want to add, it's just the survey what we did on Walk in My Shoes, and basically we're encouraging every woman and girl to report where they feel unsafe or is there any antisocial behaviour, because the more responses we get, the more we can identify those as hotspot areas. And once we've got the hotspot areas, we can look at either extra CCTV, lighting, or more police in that area. So, like Councillor Bunn, we need to encourage everyone to report, no matter how trivial they feel it is, because, you know, it seems to be the norm. Oh, it's only a trivial thing, but that can build up and build up and build up and fester. So the more we get encouragement of individuals reporting, then we can identify them as hotspots areas and address those. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. I think we've probably got to the end of the questioning of the Police and Crime Panel, unless there's anything urgent, but if people are content, can we move then to the Complaints and Review Assurance Report? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Wilmot. I think, have you managed to deaden the sound? Shall we make a start on it then? Thank you.
Yes, Chair, I'm going to take this report. And can I say, first of all, I think we've been talking with those that support the panel in relation to the format of this report and the content going forward, so that it provides panel members with what you want. I think it's a work in progress if I describe it and front it up in that way. I think what would be useful to the panel to know is those areas where we find that the force is an outlier, and what the Commissioner is doing about it, supported by our office, and themes that are emerging in relation to some of the upheld appeals or some of the reviews that are taking place. Having said that, some of the things I just wanted to put as headlines really are there is a lead officer in our team who has now been structurally in the structure moved by myself to come within Rachel's line management to bring in the assurance that Lisa gains as a complaints review manager within Dan's area, so that together with all the holding to account and assurance information that we're getting about force performance, etc. And we also hold regular meetings, I do as monitoring officer, with the head of professional standards, and we meet with the Independent Office for Police Conduct as well, so that we can have an external and independent office look at where the force may or may not be an outlier. So I may comment on that as I just go through the headlines. So There are, as the report says, some ongoing issues with the provision of updates within the 28 days. We've asked the force about that, and I can tell you that from a data perspective, last financial year, the Professional Standards Directorate in the force experienced a 10% rise in public complaints. In the first half of this financial year that we're in, this performance year, public complaints have increased by a further 12% compared to the same period last year. And to address this upturn in demand, the Head of Professional Standards has successfully put a growth bid in for full-time equivalent staff, taking the team from 4.5 to 6.4 in relation to those staff handling complaints from members of the public. There is a higher proportion of complaint allegations dealt with outside Schedule 3 of the Police Reform Act 2002. Though, for those uninitiated, that means those that are dealt with informally, where there isn't a formal investigation and they can be resolved locally. There's a high proportion requiring reinvestigation. Some are taking longer to finalise than the national average. But having said that, all recommendations that have been made to the force in relation to the findings from reviews that the PCC is responsible for have been accepted by the force and introduced through their organisational learning meetings as part of improvements made to the way that officers are handling cases. I've talked about the uplift in staffing, but there is enhanced scrutiny now going on from the office in relation to what's going on. So as well as the increase in staff to address some of the outliers where there's some timeliness issues with resolving complaints, there's been some training initiated by the Head of Professional Standards. There's been some recording issues that have been detected where things should be recorded as resolved, but they aren't. And I'll give you an example of that, Chair, where the members of the professional standards team have written out to the complainant to ask whether they are satisfied with the response that's given. Now, some forces might tick that off as resolved. Professional standards in Nottinghamshire will wait until they've heard back from the complainant to know that, yes, they are satisfied with the response. So that's an example of where recording does make a difference, and that's been monitored. The Head of Professional Standards has given us, and therefore the PCC, some assurance that everything she's trying to introduce is to ensure customer service quality, that they're doing the right thing, and that timeliness is addressed in relation to training, communication across the team, but also now, most recently, a growth proposal in relation to staffing, so that the upturn in public complaints that's been seen in Nottinghamshire and nationally can be addressed. I think that's all I was going to draw to the attention of the panel. Hopefully panel members have read the report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if I can, but I may well have to take some away in relation to being answered at a later date by the complaints lead or the Head of Professional Standards in the force.
Thank you very much for the report. Excuse me. Are there any questions from members of the panel at all? No? Are people happy to accept this report? Yes? Can I put that to the floor? Everyone, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for the report. It's always an interesting read as we've seen the travel development of the process. Thank you. Sorry, I think I'm losing my voice now. So that leaves us the work programme. I'll ask my learned colleague if there's any points you wish to draw your attention to.
Yes, the work programme is pretty much as was from the September meeting. We've got, obviously, it's been already referenced that there will be a confirmation hearing at a time to be determined, and we'll keep you informed of that as soon as possible. The next full meeting will be to consider the precept for the following year, and we have our two workshop sessions in January. So we'll take those forward, and if there's anything else that needs raising or we want to include arising from the discussions earlier, we spoke about having a standing item on transition arrangements, probably not for the February meeting, but perhaps from March on, so that we have that as a standalone rather than as part of any PCC update, so that it's clear the direction we're all moving as things change quite rapidly. So open to the floor if there's any other comments on the work programme.
May we live in interesting times. As I was saying, goals. We haven't had any urgent business presented to us. Is there anything urgent anyone wishes to raise? We haven't had any up to now. If not, can I thank everyone here who's helped, and thank you from the team. Thank you, Deputy, for coming. Hope your voice is improved. Thank you, colleagues, for your contributions, and have a safe journey home. Meeting is now closed.